Y'all, I'm still mad at my uh my little noises in the beginning aren't working. It's fine. Good morning. Happy Monday if you're watching this on Monday. Um Happy whenever. It's the last week of school right now. That's crazy. There's so much happening just in terms of both the world and school and getting everything set up, and it's insane. Insane. Good morning, Lauren. Oh, I don't know who else here. Um, you might notice, you might even know, that I'm not in the same spot I usually am. Instead of a lace curtain behind my head and a picture over here, there's a corner of the wind or a corner of the ceiling right here. Because I'm in my new condo, which is why I didn't have a Corvid course lesson last week. Um, so some of you might just be here for that, but I have to teach you something. And so we're going to talk about moving, and we're also going to talk a little bit about stalkers and why I'm only showing my condo to those of you who are live and not to the rest of you who watch later. So I'm so sorry if you missed it. If you want, I can send you the video. Just let me know. Um, I just have, we'll talk about it. We'll get the tea. Um, Also, my second screen right now is a TV because I couldn't set up my setup is different. Like I couldn't do it the same way I had before with my second monitor. So I have a TV in front of me, which you'll see in the walk around, if you will. Also, I thought I had a meeting today at 2, but it was actually at 10, so I just got out of it, which is why I'm a little, I don't know. Meetings suck, you guys. It wasn't a bad meeting if those of you who were in my meeting were watching, but I want my face more. Okay, good morning. There's 3 of you watching. I'm excited for this. All right, let's talk about moving. I thought that at some point in your life, everybody got the chance to move in or out of a place. But somebody I know who's about 25 has not had that chance yet. They've moved with their family, but then they went to the military, and in the military, they just kind of like left the barracks. They didn't have a place to rent that was their own, etc. So helping me move out was their first time. Yes, I'm talking about my boyfriend. Helping me move out was the first time they've ever done that before. So I want to just walk you through the process of getting a rental and leaving a rental before I show you a house. It's not really a house, it's the same. Okay, so when we rent a house, here's the process. You look all over. We've done this already. You look all over for a place to live. And then you don't just get to say, yep, this is mine. You have to ask them nicely if they'll allow you. And what that looks like is it looks like an application process. So you apply. What they usually do is they'll ask you for where you work, because some people might lie and say, yeah, I totally work for the high school, and then they don't actually, and they don't actually make that much money. They'll ask you for the last place you've lived over the last 3 years. Okay. If that's multiple places that you've lived, that would be as many or up to 3. So the last 3 locations or over the past 3 to 5 years of your living. Now, what they can do is they can call your previous landlords if they feel like they want to. Okay. They can go and check with them to say, hey, how is so and so? Now, I might have complained about this before. I'm not really certain. But my landlords love me, except for one. Um, so I had, let's see, let me talk about my moving history before I get into this. I went to college. I stayed in the dorms for 3 years. And then in the 4th year, I got a rental with one of my BFFs, Lacey. She lives in Portland now. We don't talk as frequently as we should, but I still consider her one of my good friends. That was my first place that I rented. We co-rented, we applied together, we split the bills mostly evenly. I paid a little bit more because I had a bigger bedroom. That's just what happens sometimes. We each made our own meals. We each filled up like a shelf of the fridge. We split everything. Then I went back home because I did my student teaching, and student teachers don't make money. They pay money. They pay money to teach you, and it's terrible. I'm not gonna lie. My student teaching experience was I worked more than I teach. I worked more than I'm teaching now, and I couldn't get a side job because there was so much that went into it. Okay, so be nice to your student teachers. They're trying to learn, but they have to pay tuition, and their teacher gets paid to have them come and teach their classes for them. Okay. So I lived at home for a little bit, and then I moved into a little apartment. It was called a townhouse because it was attached to other buildings, but it went straight up. So my first level was a kitchen and the living room, and then the second level was a bathroom and the bedroom. That was it. The laundry was downstairs. It was a shared laundry, communal laundry. I lived there for like 2, 3 years, maybe 2 years. I lived with an ex-boyfriend. He was my boyfriend at the time. I don't recommend living with exes. And then he and I moved to Arlington so I could work in Darrington. We rented a house, 3 bedrooms, way too expensive. I thought that because I was I had a real job and no longer subbing, I'd be making more, but it was exactly the same. So I shouldn't have upgraded my my rental either. Then he and I broke up. Different story, different tea time. Maybe later in the summer we'll see if I just feel like griping about exes. And I couldn't afford it by myself. I couldn't really afford it with him because he wasn't helping. But I moved into my old apartment, which was a 1 bedroom, washer and dryer in the unit though, but it was very dark. And so I finally decided I had enough and I really wanted a place with light. But um, that landlord right before that, the one in the 3 bedroom house that I left, felt like I was a terrible tenant. I was the best tenant. Everybody else has loved me. The ones in Monroe have asked me to come back. They're like, we always have a spot for you. If you want it, you're a great tenant. The other lady was like, you had an extra cat. I didn't have an extra cat. You smoked on the property. I didn't smoke on the property. You didn't vacuum. You didn't mow the lawn. I mowed the lawn. And so I had to take her to court to get my money back, you guys. So that's why this last step, the photograph step, is so important. We're going to talk about that as soon as I get there because I'm still on step 1. Buckle up. This is going to be a nice ride. So when you apply, if you've never rented before, like my first apartment that I rented, I said the dorms. And before that, I said my dad's house. Okay. The second one I ever rented, I had to say my dad's house and the one before that in Bellingham and the dorms because I had moved a lot in the last 3 years. Some landlords don't like that. Some of them are like, I want some longevity. I want you to be stuck around from the place for a while. But they understood in my case that I had moved at home to save money while I was teaching. They love teachers. Teachers have steady income most of the time. Not all the time. People think they do. Okay. And then after you apply, they say they call your work, they call your previous people. They're like, cool, you're good. My current my last landlord that I'm about to sign out actually today, luckily hopefully called my former landlord right before she decided I was a piece of poop, because if I had applied for another place, they would have called her and that wouldn't have worked very well. Luckily, I was in my current apartment for 5 years, so I wouldn't have even had to like give the next person the contact information of that jerk lady. It's great. So if you have a landlord that's terrible, first of all, learn the landlord laws because they can't do that kind of stuff to you. Second of all, live in your current place for long enough that you don't have to tell anybody about them because they're gonna talk poop about you. Okay, then you pay. We pay a lot of money. We've talked about this before. You pay the down payment. No, that's buying a house. I'm sorry. You pay a deposit. It's called a security deposit. What it means is that if you trash the place, move out without telling anybody, or are just in general a terrible tenant, I don't know what the third option is, they have enough funds to either clean the place up after you trash it or pay that last month rent if you just if you just boogie out of there. You probably won't get it back if you're a terrible tenant. Sorry. You also might have to pay a pet deposit. Some places won't even allow pets. So here's the thing. If you don't have your heart set on having a pet yet, I wouldn't get one. Okay? Because having my beautiful, wonderful goblin child of a pet has actually stopped me from getting a lot of places because they don't allow pets. My grandmother will tell me that I should just not tell them until they love me and then say, oh, I have a pet and I didn't read your Craigslist ad carefully enough. Is that okay? Don't do that because then you're out. Please don't do that. It's a different time than when she had a cat and a dog and a parrot and tried to apply for places with that. It's a different time. That parrot's I think as old as I am. He's still kicking. It's great. His name's Joe. Anyways. Okay, so you pay your down payment or your security deposit. You pay your pet deposit if you need to. The landlord, like the thing you sign the lease, will say whether it's refundable or non-refundable. Some landlords just say, hey, if you have a pet, you owe me $250, period. And I'm assuming that they're going to make a mess and I'll have to clean it. Okay? Some dogs chew walls when they're bored. Some cats pee in the carpet. They just assume that something bad's going to happen. Other landlords say that's $250 that you can get back if the wall's not chewed and the carpet's not peed on. Okay, so that's what the down payment and the pet deposit do. You also have to at least pay the first month's rent, sometimes the last month's rent. Now that's a lot of money depending on the apartment you get. So if it's $875 a month, usually the security deposit is the same amount as rent, but sometimes it's not. So mine was first month and $1,000 for the security deposit. So that's $1,087 that I had to pay immediately. Oh, 1,087, 1,875 is what I actually meant. Plus my $250 cat deposit, just for having a pet. Okay, they're expensive. It's not just the food and the attention, it's also rentals. So that was my one-time payment, and then I moved on. I paid it. They legally have to tell you where that money is going to go be held. Escrow. It's just held by a different company. It means that they're not going to spend it until you're out, because what happens sometimes is landlords will get in trouble. They'll get your security money, they'll spend it on another place, and then by the time you move out, they hope that they have enough to pay you back. But if they don't, they'll go, oh, well, they left a mess. So sign the lease, read it first. I know it's weird. I know they're gonna stand there and they're gonna be like, oh, a lot of people don't really read this. Freaking read it. Know your rights. If they don't give you a copy of it, take a picture. Okay. I think they have to give you a copy, at least in Washington State, but really, like, get a copy of your lease, because if you're like me and you move out 5 years later, you're gonna want to remember what you paid, and what you're expected to have been doing the whole time. So if I was expected to do the landscaping and I hadn't been for 5 years, I might need to do that before I move out. Okay. So that's just a thing that you do. And then, okay, before you move anything in, before you get the couch in, before you sit down in a fold-out chair, seriously take pictures of everything. Okay? Because what happens every now and again is that a landlord, my hand's going all over the place, a landlord will, bless their hearts, blame you for blame you for something that they already knew existed, or maybe they forgot after the 5 years that you've been in there. So for instance, my landlord was going to put in like a blind, and I didn't want it. I was going to use curtains anyways, and it was already too dark. So I was like, please don't bother with the blinds. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, I'm sure. Guess what I did not take a picture of? That. So I'm hoping that it's been 5 years and she remembers when I remind her that I didn't steal her blinds. She just never put them in. Okay? Check to see if you're allowed to paint, by the way. And then if there's any wires sticking out of the wall, if there's anything that you notice that's kind of gross, if a corner of the carpet is cut, if there's a stain somewhere, if there's hardwood flooring, but a little bit is scratched. All these random things. Be a jerk about it, okay? Go through every single thing and take a picture of it. Your landlord might also have you sign a damage report, I think they're called. I haven't had a lot of those, mostly in college at the dorms we did this. But that's where you like mark down everything. And then if your landlord's like, what hole in the carpet? Then you can go show them and then you both initial it. Okay. All three of my landlords, no, 3 out of my 4 landlords have never done this before. I think that my current one did it, and it's been 5 years, so I have to remember what was on there, but that's the idea. Okay, so make sure you get your pictures. Save them in the Google Drive. Save them somewhere you'll remember. Save them so that way if you lose your phone, you don't lose your pictures, because if you're taken to court, you have to be able to prove that that was already there. Okay? Protect your butt. And then you move in. If you have family to help you, that's amazing. If you have family to help you, make sure you're packed ahead of time, because they get grumpy when you say, "Can you help me move?" And what you mean is, "Can you help me pack and also take my stuff to the new place?" Okay? They don't like that. My family doesn't like that. Maybe yours is okay with it, but you have to be clear about what you're asking for. So if you say, "Can you help me move?" what you mean is take my stuff from one location and put it in a different location. If you want them to help you pack, you say, "Can you help me pack?" Most people don't like to do both in the same time. So if you're like, "Hey, on Saturday I'm having a packing party. Anybody want to help me? We can turn on the tunes and we can just jam out. People will be there." Plus, if you're of age, which none of you watching are, I don't think, but once you are of age, you could have that kind of packing party where you also like, they're gonna be hanging out at your house for a little bit. It doesn't hurt. Okay? And then when you say, "Can you help me move on Sunday? We're gonna have a moving party." People are like, "Yeah, what kind of truck do you want me to bring?" or whatever. And you're like, "Well, I have a lot of big stuff," or, "Hey, I just have a little bit," or bring whatever you can. When we moved this last weekend, which is why I didn't have internet yet, by the way, on Monday, we had a medium-sized truck, a large truck that's not covered, a truck that is covered, a truck with like the flat covering and not this kind of covering, the truck with that kind of covering, the canopy. So many random things. And then my little tiny car, just packed full of pictures. Basically, like I had all my my wall coverings in my little car. And we zipped right on up. If you do have a pet, the time to move your pet is the time when you are planning on sleeping at the new place. Okay? So if your bed goes, your pet goes. If your bed stays, your pet stays. Your pet goes with your bed. Because if you leave a pet alone in an apartment where a lot of people have just come through, they're going to freak out. This one time when I was moving, I made this mistake. I left Rocket at the place. He's right here. He's sleeping by the computer. I left Rocket at the new place while all my stuff was at the old place. I was like, I'll just go back and get him tomorrow. He'll be more comfortable here because he knows it. Okay? Go back. This is the house. This is on a farm with dogs and donkeys and peacocks and horses, I think, was the farm. Oh, and it was a bunny. It was like a bunny farm, but like for food and not for pets. Anyways, I get back and he's not in the house anywhere. Oh, dang it. Like, where did he go? And I look all over, like, it's a 3-bedroom house. I have to look everywhere. There's a cat door that I had covered up the entire time. Well, one of the boxes I was using to cover it went with me, so the thing fell down. And of course he went outside. Of course he went outside. The outside's great. I find him in the backyard with, I'm not joking you, at least 10 peacocks, maybe a dozen to 15, I'm not sure, on the fence line, on the shed, right around, like vultures. They're like looking down at him. And he's like, puffed up, eyes big, back arched, not sure what to do. And I'm like, come here, like the door's open, go on. And he's frozen in fear. So I start walking towards him and he bolts it back inside. And that's when I learned to take the cat with you. Okay, so take the cat. Just bring him with you. Then you live there. You live there for a year, usually, is in the contract. Maybe 6 months if that's in the contract. Maybe you stay and you just live there for 5 years. When you stay longer than the contract, two things can happen. Option one, you can re-sign the contract. Landlords forget how long you've been in there. You have to reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to re-up my contract. And they say, great, let me bring it over. And you do it for another year. That's good because your landlord can't change your rent in that year, I think. They might be able to up it a little bit, but there's like a small percentage. Option two, you just start going month to month. You just live there until you don't live there anymore. That's good because then you have the flexibility to start looking for a new place if you're sad. If you don't like your place anymore, or you made a mistake, or there's mold somewhere and you need to get out, okay? That's when you start doing month to month. The benefit to month is that you can move out of it basically at any time. The negative part is that they can raise your rent willy-nilly because you're just a month-to-month renter. They probably won't, but like my landlord did, they raised it by $80, which seems like a little bit, but when I went from $8.95 to $9.75, that felt like $100. It sounded like $100. And so it becomes a little bit of an issue. It's fine. Okay, so you live there for a while and then you move out. Okay. At least in Washington, also sorry about the wiggling of the table rack, it's no longer sleeping. In at least Washington, which is the only one I know, I don't know other states, I'm so sorry. If you're from another state, look it up. It's common to give 2 weeks notice at a job and at the house. And that's so that way they can prepare to have somebody else moving in. And so that way, if it's a job, same thing, get a new person hired. And so you can clean and pack out and stuff. So it's not like, hey, I'm moving tomorrow. They can't kick you out that quickly. They can if you don't pay your rent, but they can't kick you out that early anyways. So give your 2 weeks notice. Say, hey, I'm moving out on this date. Sometimes you need to give a month's notice. It's in your lease. That's why you keep it, so that way you know what you need. You pack your stuff. You pack it carefully because you're going to find, I found that I have a lot of things. And I ended up having to go back at least once a day. No, sorry. At most once a day for the whole week so far, just to go get the rest of the little things that were like on a big thing or in a big thing, right? So I have just boxes around me that I'm very carefully not showing you. I think there's actually one right here. So you pack. You put the location where the box should go on the box, and you put a basic description of what it is. Books, movies, games, knickknacks, pots and pans, etc. So you put basic descriptions on there so that way later, in like a month or two, when you finally get the energy to finish unpacking, you know what the heck's in those boxes. Because otherwise you don't have that option. It's terrible. Then you do the same thing with your family. You say, hey, will you help me move? Or, hey, will you help me pack? Be specific. It helps if you have two people, one who knows where the stuff's going and one who knows what stuff's going. But alternatively, what you could do is just get the party started, take the first load up, and then help them know where the stuff goes. One thing some people will do is they'll color code. I'm a color coder. I'm not a color coding packer, but I'm a color coder in my heart. So what I would do is I would say like kitchen stuff has a blue sticker on it, and then I would put a blue sticker in the kitchen. So that way if somebody is moving your stuff and doesn't know where stuff goes, they could just go blue, blue here. It's close enough. They might also just look at the word kitchen on the box and put it in the kitchen. Alternatively, what they could do is just plop, 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 plop. So if it's super fragile and you didn't pack it very well, you need to be moving it because they'll just put it wherever, stack whatever on top of it. It'll be a mess, okay? And then make sure you know what furniture is going. If you don't want furniture at your new place, find a Buy Nothing group on Facebook and give it away so you don't have to move it. It's a lot easier to get people to move it just out to the sidewalk than it is to get people to move it all the way to your house and then find somebody by yourself to move it back out, right? If it's not going to fit, don't put it in there. If it's not going to if it does not bring you joy, hashtag Marie Kondo, I think that's how you say her last name, get rid of it. You don't want junk in your house. Okay. Moving's a great time to go through and take inventory and get rid of stuff. And I have been, and I still feel like I have a lot, so I got to do that more often. Okay. Now, second to last step, you clean the place. You clean it top to bottom. You clean it as if your mother's going to come and pick out every little frickin' thing that you missed, okay? You clean it until the Queen of England herself could come live in there and not complain about a speck of dust. I'm hoping she doesn't do that, but maybe she does. We don't know. So you do that. You clean everything because your landlord's going to be the person that comes and says, "Oh, you missed a spot over here. That's $300 off your deposit." Most landlords don't do that, okay? But some do, so make sure you clean. Things that you don't usually think of, because everybody thinks of sweeping, mopping, and vacuuming. Like those are, the floor is really good. If you know how, you can apply mud into little holes in the walls, so that way that doesn't do that. You also, if you put too many holes in the walls, or too big of holes, you can put white toothpaste and just fill up the little thing. It's not a good idea, but it is a thing you can do if you just need to get out of there without paying extra money. You should wipe down the kitchen cupboards. Like just take a rag and wipe them off because there's a lot of random stuff that just falls in there. And you should take a cloth and wipe down the floorboards, like the little wood part that's around the outside of the floor. That should go too, because a lot of spider webs collect there, and people don't notice until their landlord notices. Same thing with cobwebs in the corners of the room. So all of this stuff you should be cleaning, and then maybe clean it again. I don't know. Toilet, shower, kitchen sink, bathroom sink. Just clean it, okay? And then take pictures of the way that you cleaned it. Oh, and mow the lawn. I almost said vacuum the lawn again. Mow the lawn. Clean up any weeds. Take pictures of everything. If you're embarrassed to take a picture of it, maybe clean it first, okay? There was a point in my life where I just wanted to get out of that big old house, so I didn't vacuum like the corners of the carpet. And I was like, I don't really want to take a picture of this because you can kind of see that there's stuff there. I should have just cleaned it. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. And then that's when my landlord at the time went, "Oh, you had two cats? Because that's black hair and you don't have a black haired cat." Guess what? My cat is striped brown and black. You're fine. Chill out. So take pictures, okay? This is the same as the first one. Take pictures to cover your butt. Both of these are the same. My other one's right here. I can still see it. Okay. All right, that was it. No, I'm just kidding. This is, okay, let's talk about stalkers really quick. Throwing shade. I had a partner, boyfriend, who just was really creepy. He he would text me in one spot and then I would block him and then he would show up on my Facebook and I would block him and I was always just a little afraid that he might show up at my place. And this has happened twice. So, first of all, pick your boyfriends carefully or girlfriends or significant others without gender. Secondly, your information's all over the place, okay? I feel a lot safer being out here because nobody knows, like, those two boyfriends haven't been to my place. They haven't seen it. They probably wouldn't recognize it. But if somebody's really determined enough, I have a picture of myself on my Facebook privately of me in front of the place. So you can kind of see what it looks like. You could probably do a reverse Google search just on the building. And when I show you all the stuff, they might recognize the door handle, they might recognize the door, they might see the backgrounds. So that's something that I don't want to be on the internet. Okay. That's why I'm only doing this for the live viewers because I can control who's here, kind of. I know that Lauren's here. I have 3 viewers. I'm willing to bet. Actually, let me see if I can guess. Maya would have said good morning by now. So maybe Ian is here because Ian asked to see the place, and it might also be Arliss because sometimes she just hangs out, right? So if I called you out, come say hi. But those are just you three really, and it's gonna be on YouTube for a little bit, but then I'm gonna crop the end of this, so that's why it makes me feel safer, even if Lexi, dang it, Lexi's a silent observer too. Good morning, Lexi. So I wonder who I was wrong about. Probably all of you. I don't know who watches this apparently. Maybe my stalker's here. Go away. I don't want you around anymore. No, it's probably fine. Okay, so I'm gonna show you my apartment. What I did was I didn't want to pick up my computer and carry it around with me, and maybe lose battery or make it too shaky. So what I did was I pre-recorded myself walking through my apartment, and I can talk about things if you have any questions in the chat. But this is as far as the YouTube video goes. So I'm just gonna plop in the outro really quick. That way, for those of you who are just watching this not live, you get the end of that. So we've talked about moving in, moving out, and a little bit of stalkers, because why not? So I hope you have a great night. Don't go away if you're live, though, okay? So we're just going to transition. Let's collect knowledge, like Corvids collect shiny things.